So welcome again. I am Nikki Mitchell, counselor for students with the last names GOO through LE. Mrs. Hebert and I will be sharing the presentation tonight. So like I said, you've got all of our attention because we'll be answering questions in the chat, but Mrs. Hebert will also be presenting as well. We can move on to the next slide, where you will see our counseling department. And I will just add that parents, we were in junior English classes today, and we gave a presentation to students on how to select classes for next year. We'll touch a little bit on that at the end of the close to the end of our presentation tonight. We explained to them that this is a process that has lots of steps. And just like any recipe that you're making, you don't want to have all the ingredients just thrown at you. You need kind of you need a book. You need a recipe that tells you how much of what to use, what temperature to cook it. And so our goal is to provide you with bits of information along the way, because again, like I said, there's a lot of information, but it's digestible if you show up and participate in the events that we host to help you with that process. So on the screen, you will see our counseling department. Students, at this point, I hope that you know who your counselor is. The faces that you don't see on the screen are our secretary, Ms. Stevenson, and our guidance technician, Adriana Talamontes. Students and parents, Ms. Stevenson is a critical part of our team, and quite often she'll be able to answer questions about registration, deadlines, things like that. So especially this week when we're in classrooms presenting to the different grade levels, we encourage you students that if you do have a question, make sure that you see Ms. Stevenson, and she may be able to answer that for you. Okay, next slide. All right. So one of the things that we urge you to do is to please get familiar with SchoolLinks. The more familiar you are with SchoolLinks right now, the better prepared you will be to utilize it next year when you're a senior and it's more mandatory. So SchoolLinks is basically our school-wide platform that we use for college and career readiness. And that's our platform that we use for your application process. In the fall of your senior year, when you're applying to colleges, your transcripts are uploaded to SchoolLinks. Letters of recommendation from your teachers and counselors are uploaded into SchoolLinks. And so we use that. That's a critical tool that we use in order to make sure that all of your documents get to the right destination. So again, students, when we are encouraging you to do the to-do items in SchoolLinks, it's because we want you to get familiar with the different features that it has. You can explore colleges, you can explore careers, you can get a sense of where you will find the best fit for you. So there are to-do list items, and we want you to make sure that you know how to access that. Your SchoolLinks can be found on the CHS website, and it's on the left-hand side under student links. Okay, next slide. All right, so SchoolLinks, as I said, houses a list of to-do items. And so as long as you're using that, you're going to have a good idea of where you should be in terms of tasks and activities. This is that time of year where we really want you to explore colleges. Right now, we know that some of you have a sense of where you're going to go, but some of you may not have thought about it. But this is the time to start thinking, are you going to be considering community colleges, four-year colleges? And amongst those four-year colleges, what type, public or private? We're going to get into that in just a moment. But again, please realize that right now, time is on your side. It is only the second week of February. Between now and the start of your senior year, if you use your weekends, if you use spring break, summer break, you've got plenty of opportunities in which to actually explore colleges. So you can explore them virtually as well as in person. And we encourage you whenever possible to visit in person, because that's where you really get a sense of how you fit on a campus. Okay. We also have listed here Big Future as a resource. It is a part of College Board, and that's another way for you just to research different types of schools. Next slide. Now, as I said before, there are different post-graduation options, different collegiate options, and one of those is the community college. As juniors, this shouldn't be brand new to you because we've been saying this for the past 2 years in your classrooms. However, it's good for you to understand it a little bit more in detail now because it's coming up as a possible option for you. So these are just some facts that we want you to be aware of about the community college system. Know that you simply need to have your high school diploma or be 18 years of age in order to apply. They have an open admissions policy, so that makes it very convenient and very easy for everyone to access the community college opportunities. A lot of our students will use the community college as a route to transfer. So if you choose to go to a community college, you can take coursework, general education coursework there that will allow you to transfer to a Cal State or a UC. Even those students right now who are thinking that they want to go straight to a four-year college, it never fails that somewhere along the line, they may start considering two-year college as an option for them, especially as it relates to the financial benefits of attending a community college. Those of you who did attend Junior Information Night will know that community colleges have a lot of different things that people sometimes aren't aware of, including honors programs. Students can often travel abroad at a community college. There are opportunities for students to earn a certificate. So some students will use it to transfer to a four-year. Some students will find that the program of study or the career that they're looking for simply requires a certificate from a community college. Again, the cost is low, financial aid is available. We have a very close relationship with Citrus Community College. Some students online right now might be taking dual enrollment classes because they partner with Claremont High School very nicely. And many of our students take advantage of taking coursework at CHS that is giving them college credit already. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about the community college system. You would be applying in the spring of your senior year. So about this time next year, juniors, is when you would be starting that process. It usually falls a bit later than the four-year college application cycle. The application is free, which is really nice, and it's all done online. And again, admission is guaranteed, provided that you will have a diploma or be 18 years old. You can see there the cost of attendance, and you can see other features about attending a community college. We encourage you to communicate also with Ms. Miller in the Career Center. Students, you're going to see her when you come through with your social science classes, when we're meeting with you one-on-one for your credit checks. But make sure that you know where she's housed in the Career Center in the library, because she works very closely with our students who are planning to go to a community college and take advantage of the Promise program, which helps facilitate that transition from CHS to community college. This next slide gives you an example of some of the programs that you can pursue, certificate programs that you can pursue at the community college level. And this is important to understand because many times students think that they have to go to a four-year college. They think of college in terms of, well, I have to go to a four-year college. But when you really probe and consider the type of education you're looking for, that's not always necessary. So perfect example, today I met a young lady who was interested in cosmetology and was asking about four-year colleges that offered coursework in that realm. And in fact, I explained to her that no, you don't have to go to a four-year college. In fact, most four-year colleges aren't going to have a cosmetology program, but Citrus has an excellent one. So again, students, as you're thinking about the kinds of careers you want to pursue, keep in mind that some of those just necessitate a certificate or an associate's degree from community colleges. All right, next slide. So moving into four-year colleges, please know that there are thousands of four-year colleges and universities in the United States. So again, beginning your college search now helps to make that process of learning about colleges not so overwhelming. So again, using School Links, Big Future, these are different sites that will help you get a sense of what you're looking for as you're pursuing four-year college opportunities. All right, so when we think about four-year colleges, we often break them into two different categories. There are public universities and private universities. That's important for you to understand because you have an excellent public university system in the state of California. We have the Cal State system as well as the UC system. Students, those are public schools. Those are funded by our state. Private colleges, you're very fortunate as well because you live in a college town. So right down the street from the high school, you have the Claremont colleges. We have ULV, University of La Verne, APU, Caltech. Going out of state, we have places like Case Western, Howard University. So there are a large number of private colleges as well as public universities. And there are public universities that are outside of our state. So you can go to Washington University or University of Texas. So this is just one way to categorize two different types of four-year colleges. Now, To break down our public college system, the UC and the Cal State, this slide just gives you just a general overview of some of the differences. So we have 9 UC campuses. So most students can recognize UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC Riverside. Some of them don't recognize the fact that we also have UC Merced, which is more in Central California, UC Santa Cruz. There are 9 campuses. There is one graduate campus, University of California in San Francisco, but that's for graduate students. So really the focus is on the 9 campuses that our students can apply to out of high school. Alongside that is the Cal State system that has 23 campuses. So again, we are very, very fortunate that as far down as San Diego, all the way up to Humboldt, you'll find campuses peppered throughout the state of California that you can attend that are a part of our state public school university system. Now, one thing to keep in mind is research is really important. So even though this slide gives a general overview of the UCs being a bit more selective than the Cal States, students, you may discover that there are some Cal States that are actually a bit more selective than some UCs. One example is students who are interested in San Luis Obispo, okay, or SLO as they often call it, but that's a Cal State university. And it is quite selective. That one might be even more selective than, let's say, UC Merced. So it really depends on the school itself. And again, it's all the more reason why we want you to begin researching now. Next slide, please. All right, so as you're exploring, we really want you to consider out-of-state public colleges and universities. Some students find that they might have a good match with the majors or a program of study that they want to pursue, and it's a school that's outside of California. What's nice is researching that Western Undergraduate Exchange, and we provide the link there for you to get more information, will show you that there are some colleges that participate in that exchange, and it offers reciprocal tuition, which is a really big savings for students who are here in California. So in other words, you may find that you don't have to pay any more than what you would pay if you were an in-state resident. Now that varies from school to school, and sometimes it depends on the major that you're applying under. But again, that's just one example of things that you can start researching now so that you can discover if there is a participating school that has what you're looking for that might actually be financially feasible for you. Next slide. So a little bit about private colleges, because again, there are so many. Each college has its own admission requirements. So when students come in and talk to us about colleges, we really rely on you to kind of start exploring, start looking up schools based on what your interests are in. Maybe you want a school that is the same size as Claremont High School, or smaller than Claremont High School, or much larger. Maybe you want a school that is in a different state, that has a different climate. You have to think about all the different factors that are important to you. Many colleges will offer the major that you're looking for, but it's more than just the major. You need to think about the experience that you want to have. Some colleges are on the semester system, much like high school. Some colleges, like the UCs, are on the quarter system, which means that their cycle of coursework moves at a faster pace. One thing to keep in mind is when you meet the UC requirements, those A through G requirements that we talk about, you are most likely meeting the requirements for most private colleges as well. So those A through Gs are a really good gauge for what you should be taking, because that'll cover your bases for most private schools as well. Next slide. Now, when you're thinking about what it takes or what you need in order to be admissible or a part of your application process, these are some of the things that colleges will look for. They will look at your transcript, obviously making sure that you've taken the appropriate coursework, but they will also look at essays or recommendations. The UCs, or well, let's start with the private colleges. They primarily will look at essays that you will have to write, and they will also generally require letters of recommendation. Not all, but many of them will. Cal States do not require letters of recommendation, nor do UCs. Cal States don't require essays. UCs do have a writing component called the personal insight questions. So again, as you all are researching, you're going to notice these are different criteria that you have to be prepared to present as an applicant. Some of the things that they want to make sure of when they're looking at you as an applicant is, what are you going to bring to their campus? What kinds of attributes do you exhibit based on things that you've done in high school that indicate your level of initiative, your self-discipline, any talents that you have? So these are things because they're trying to create a nice tapestry of different types of people for their campus. So they want to see what makes you special, how you're going to add to that fabric of their institution. They're looking at classes that you take beyond the minimum requirements. So students meeting your A through G requirements is, of course, the minimum. When your counselor is encouraging you to pursue maybe more science or more language based on the school that you're applying to, it's because the colleges want to see that you know how to challenge yourself. Okay, next slide, please. So this is just a list of great colleges to consider, okay? There are so many out there, and we know that quite often students get tied into hearing about certain colleges just based on the name. So you know UCLA, you know Stanford, you know Pomona College, you know Harvard. But when you stop and think, what criteria am I looking for as far as what kind of experience do I want? You're going to discover that there are lots of places that are good fits for you. So we want you to broaden your scope. These are just a few schools that you may or may not have heard of, but keep them on your list. These are schools that admit more than 50 to 70% of their applicants. So again, colleges vary in terms of their selectivity. That just means how picky they are in terms of in terms of the students who are applying. Next slide, please. Okay, so financial aid. In the fall, we will present a financial aid night. We generally will have someone who comes from one of our local colleges and does a presentation for students and parents so that you understand specifically how to begin that financial aid application process. So you'll hear different terms such as the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It's too early for you to fill that out now, but it's not too early for you to get familiar with the language of these different types of things. Just know that financial aid comes in different forms. So that can be grants, loans, work study, scholarships, okay? So when we're talking about grants and scholarships, students, that's free money. So you really want to take time to understand that, because it may be too soon to apply for certain scholarships right now in your junior year, but it's not too early for you to know what those scholarships are and start researching them so that you can know what criteria it takes. Maybe there's certain essays that you have to write, or you have to start gathering data about your financial information at home or hours that you volunteered. So having that all organized now, because time is on your side in the second week of February, makes it so much easier a year from now when you are a senior. Colleges will award money based on need and merit, so keep that in mind. Again, like I said before, it's too early for you to file for financial aid now, but beginning October 1st, you will file the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and you can look out for the financial aid night in the fall. Next slide, please. Okay, so I mentioned it briefly before. Scholarships are our favorite type of financial aid because that's free money. That's money that you don't have to pay back. So we encourage students to create a FastWeb account. It's free and it's extensive research that allows you to explore different types of scholarships that you may qualify just based on different criteria. There is a link to FastWeb on the CHS website. Also, we post in school links and in the daily bulletin different local scholarships. Ms. Miller in the Career Center will often post or highlight in our Career Center different scholarships that you may want to look into. Be very careful that if you are pursuing a scholarship and it asks you to pay in order to access their scholarship information, be leery of that because it should not cost you money to get free money, okay? And students, if you are planning to apply for scholarships, you will most likely need letters of recommendation. So when we talk about that process of securing letters from your teacher and your counselor, make sure you're paying attention because most scholarships do require letters of recommendation. Next slide. So speaking of that, letters of recommendation, just know that private colleges will expect you to submit letters of recommendation from 2 different teachers. And usually it's teachers who you have in your junior year. Why is that? Well, because you're very different than you as a junior than you were as a freshman or a sophomore. So by the time you're a senior, colleges want the most recent idea of who you are as a person in terms of your strengths and your talents and all of those attributes that are important. So be prepared to ask one of your junior year teachers about a letter of recommendation. Usually by the end of May, you'll get that verbal, or you'll want to extend that verbal request to your teachers. UC's and Cal State campuses do not require, nor do they read letters of recommendation. There's no way to submit them to those public universities. There are some scholarships, many that will require letters of recommendation. So on our school website, you will see what's called the counselor questionnaire. We want you to work on that over the summer because it provides information for your counselor to better write their letter of recommendation for you. And likewise, there is a request for teachers. There's a teacher questionnaire that you will also submit in September so that your teacher has more information about you as they are drafting your letter. Next slide, please. Okay. Let's see. So again, it's your responsibility as a student to identify if your colleges require letters of rec. We can tell you in general that most private schools or many private schools will need that. But you can always check this information out by going to that specific college's website. So if you look up Pitzer College and you look under admission requirements, it's going to tell you exactly what they need. Students, as a rule of thumb, if a college is a common application school, that means if they subscribe to the Common App, they probably will request a letter of recommendation. So Common App is a really convenient application that covers many different private schools. Most Common App schools will need a counselor letter and letters from 2 different teachers. And again, you have the summer to work on your counselor questionnaire, which is like a brag sheet of sorts, as well as your teacher questionnaire that you will present to your counselor and your teacher by September 26th. Okay, admissions tests. Now, this has changed quite a bit over the past few years because COVID kind of shook things up a bit. And when students didn't have the ability to test, it really made schools start evaluating whether or not tests were required or whether or not they were going to continue requiring tests as a form of, as one of the criteria for admission. So you will notice that over 70% of colleges and universities are test optional. That means that you can decide whether you want to take a test or submit a score or not. You don't sign up for tests at CHS. When we're talking about admissions tests, we're talking about the SAT and the ACT, and each of those are separate entities, separate agencies. Those websites are also on the CHS website. They're also on a timeline that's on our CHS website for juniors, so that you can actually go to the College Board website to register for the SAT or the ACT.org website to register for the ACT. But you'll notice that when it's test optional, that means it's your choice. For that reason, we encourage students to consider sitting for an SAT or an ACT. At this phase, you may not know exactly where you're going to apply, but it's often better to have something and not need that information than to need it and not have it. And so if you are in higher levels of math, if you are in higher levels of your English courses, you may actually do well on SAT or an ACT, and you may discover that, having a test score can be helpful to your application. Many of the highly selective colleges will appreciate having the opportunity to see a test score. So it's test optional, but again, just consider if testing is right for you. All right, next slide. So this breaks down the differences between the ACT and the SAT. So you could just see that the SAT is evidence-based reading and writing and math. The ACT has different percentages of English, math, reading, science. Students, that science percentage is not science specific. It's not specific to biology or chemistry or physics, but science-based questions. So reading graphs and charts and understanding scientific information. This just gives you an overview of the differences. If you are a student who's planning to test, there's no harm in taking both tests. Some students do better on the SAT, some do better on the ACT, and for some, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And you can see here again, the links for each of those different testing organizations. Okay, so just some more tips about testing. You will need to get really familiar with that CEEB code. That is our Claremont High School code, and all high schools have a 6-digit code. So whenever you register for testing, they will ask for that. It's usually posted in the office, it's on our website, and you'll just get familiar to knowing that that's our code for registering for those exams. And again, like I said before, most colleges will accept either SAT or ACT. It doesn't hurt to take them both, and one is not preferred over the other. We have a link, and I said this before, but it's really important dates for juniors. It's on the CHS website. We would encourage you to download that because that's going to give you, again, a timeline of things that you should be doing starting from January 12th when we had our junior information night all the way to the beginning of your senior year. So make sure you take a look at that list so that you can be on track for what needs to be next steps. Next slide. Students, there is a website called fairtest.org. That's a list of colleges that don't require testing as part of their application or admission requirements. Now, again, many schools are test optional, but Fairtest will tell you the schools that absolutely do not require it. Also be aware that the Cal State and the UC system are both test blind at this point. That means that they are not looking at test scores. So it's primarily your private schools that will potentially be open to looking at your test scores. Students, it's really important that if you are a student that qualifies for a fee waiver, your counselor wants to know that. We want to make sure that that the cost of it is not a barrier for you taking those tests. So you would want to see Ms. Talamantes in the main office for SAT or ACT fee waivers. She would explain the criteria for assessment of that. Whether you qualify or not. We don't want that to be a barrier for any student who might have financial hardship to not be able to take those exams. Some students we know are already getting themselves ready for testing and doing different types of academies or programs. One that is free is actually the Khan Academy for test prep. We highly encourage you to take advantage of that as a resource if you want to just get some practice on your own without having to pay anything. Khan Academy is a great resource. And
all right,
I'll turn it over to Mrs. Hebert.
All right, good evening. So first we want to tell you about some application options that you are perhaps seeing right now as you're exploring your options for your college applications come the fall. Early Decision is a program where you apply early and you will find out earlier than most, usually by December, if your application for admission has been accepted. Early Decision, though, is really a binding commitment. You apply to only one Early Decision school in a cycle. And if your Early Decision school admits you early, then you have to withdraw your other offers or your other applications to other colleges. So Early Decision is a good tool, but it does have a lot of rules to it. Early Action is another option. You apply early, you find out early if you've been admitted, but it's not binding. That way, under Early Action, you can see how all your admissions decisions turn out before deciding in May which school's admission option you will accept. And then there's Regular Decision. Regular Decision means that the college deadline has the college has a deadline that is fixed, and it's normally a February deadline, sometimes early March, and you apply Regular Decision, you apply by their deadline, and typically you find out February, March about your admission, the decision made. Rolling admission, some colleges have rolling admission where they don't have a specific deadline to apply, but accept applications on an ongoing basis and sometimes into the summer. The University of Alaska is an example of a school with rolling admission. Earlier, we talked about community colleges in California. The timeline to apply to community colleges is in the winter and early spring of your senior year. The application is free and it's online, and you can apply to as many California community colleges as you wish. We do want to mention for our juniors that it's really important if you are an aspiring Division I or Division II athlete in college that you let your counselor know. We explained that in class today when we were in our junior classes, that students who wish to play sports in college, D1, D2, must continue with the NC2A Eligibility Center this spring. There is a fee for this, and a fee waiver is available if there is financial need. Please let your counselor know if you have that fee waiver need. The NC2A eligibility process happens in 11th grade. The NC2A requires that students complete a certain pattern of 16 NC2A approved courses for Division I and Division II eligibility. There is a GPA requirement for Division I, a 2.2 GPA requirement for Division II. And most recently, the NC2A has removed any requirements for the SAT or ACT. And that is a big departure in how they have ruled prior, but no longer will students need to submit an SAT or ACT score for NC2A eligibility. Here are the requirements for NC2A eligibility. You must have 16 core courses in NC2A approved curriculum. So the basics are outlined here with 4 years of English, 2 years of social science, 3 years of math, 2 years of science, and an additional year of English, math, or science, plus 4 more academic years from the areas above. The NC2A does not count art, music classes as part of the core requirements. The core requirements must be in English, math, science, social science, and PE also is not counted as a core requirement. There are additional requirements about NC2A, so it's really essential that students report their NC2A interest to their counselor, and it is a question on the course request form that all students have, so that we can be notified, counselors can be notified of their NC2A interest and intent. The technology education exam is an option for students who still need to fulfill the graduation requirement of Tech Ed. Tech Ed is a semester-long class. Many students already have completed that graduation requirement from the course they took at El Roble or middle school, or maybe they took Tech Ed at some point during 9th or 10th grade, or this past semester in junior year. The Tech Ed Challenge exam is another way to fulfill that grad requirement. It's an exam offered several times per school year. We have one more challenge exam planned to be offered to students in the spring. And if you are already proficient in Word, Excel, or Google spreadsheets, you understand about presentation software like PowerPoint or Google Presentations, you understand digital literacy and citizenship, we encourage you to sit for the exam. You sign up electronically and you take the exam on campus at the day that it's offered. Passing is 70%. You don't need to be 100% to pass the challenge exam, and many students pass it the first time. As you're looking at ways to enrich yourself in the coming weeks and summer, consider volunteering. There are many local places in Claremont and the vicinity that do welcome teenagers to volunteer. You can use your volunteering opportunity as a way to both explore a career, a talent, an interest. Maybe you're interested in working with a friend and you can volunteer together. Think about ways that you can serve your school, your community, because it can really pay dividends in many ways, both to further your interests as well as to show how you spend your time outside the classroom. Joining a club at Claremont High School can also be a great opportunity for some personal growth. We offer so many clubs on campus, and you can certainly continue to explore them as the club meetings happen mostly at lunchtime on campus, so it's really easy to test out clubs. You can also start a new club at CHS, and the ASB office can advise how to do that. If you're thinking about summer ideas, your summer could include a summer school class. The summer school registration forms are embedded right now in the course request form that we shared with your juniors today in class. And after the registration piece concludes February 17th, you will have a separate summer school form to make your summer school requests. Our summer school classes are both enrichment classes like government and econ, ways to get ahead, as well as we offer a full year of pre-calculus and chemistry in our summer school, again, for enrichment. Our summer school also has a remediation arm for students who have earned a below average grade or non-passing grade in critical classes. They can take summer school classes to catch up and remediate grades. Other ideas for your summer: go on college tours. It's a great way to kind of get a feel for a community, the size of the campus, the resources. If you can't go on a physical tour to a particular school site, maybe you consider doing a virtual tour or looking at schools of similar size and locale if that one school of interest is not readily available to see. Again, consider volunteering this summer. Some students get part-time jobs in the summer, and that can be a great way to make some extra money. Generally speaking, the most successful students who work are those who don't work more than 10 to 15 hours a week, because your primary job is still being a student, but that could be a nice way to make a little money, get a little experience, and start building your work experience history to share one day with a new employer. If you are under 18, you do need a work permit once you are given a job offer, and the Career Center can help students get their work permit. Another summer idea is to complete the teacher and counselor questionnaire. It's a great thing to do in the summer, and you can have it done. As we mentioned earlier, we do recommend that you ask 2 junior year teachers by end of May if they are willing to write on your behalf, and then you can prepare the teacher questionnaire over the summer. And then your counselor will write letters of recommendation, provided that you complete the counselor questionnaire on time, September 26th. And the counselor questionnaire, if you can do that in the summer, you'll have one less burden, if you will, at the beginning of your busy senior year. The most successful students find that having those tasks completed in the summer really streamlines the beginning of their senior year. We're often asked as counselors about taking classes somewhere else in the summer for various reasons. And we have to caution that it is difficult to identify programs outside of Claremont High School that provide similar or consistent work to what we do. Outside coursework may have a different pacing calendar, different format, and we often find that with math and world language in particular, outside courses do not adequately prepare students for the subsequent class planned at Claremont High School. For example, students wishing to take a 3rd year world language elsewhere and then coming back to Claremont High School for AP World Language or IB World Language. We find that there can be a great disconnect in preparation for the students, and that leads to a lot of frustration. Additionally, not all outside schools are properly certified as college preparatory with the NC2A, which can compromise admissions. So as a general statement, we do not advise or recommend outside coursework. We do want to remind students of their options for International Baccalaureate and Advanced Placement classes for next year. They are similar, AP and IB, in that they are rigorous. AP and IB classes have extensive reading and writing. Students who get a C or better in an AP or IB course earn an extra GPA point in the GPA calculation. Many colleges will grant credit for students who take the course and then get passing scores on the respective IB or AP exam. AP and IB exams are offered in May. The registration for exams has already ended. IB and AP is a great way to challenge yourself. Many students find that the courses move at a good pace, but they have more depth and more opportunities to discuss in class concepts and ideas. But when you do choose an AP or IB course, please be relatively certain that this is the course that you want. Switching to the regular version of the course in the fall sometimes is not easily done. So please choose wisely. Those of you who are full IB diploma candidates, IB English and IB History of the Americas will continue next year as part of your IB curriculum, and your third HL IB course will also need to be happening for your senior year to fulfill the IB diploma requirements. As you're looking at some of your options for next year, we want to remind students of ROP. ROP is Regional Occupation Program. These are courses offered through a consortium, including our district and other local districts, to provide career and technical education to high school students for free. Many of our courses on our campus have a 2-year course sequence, which is a really nice thing, because if you are interested, say, in sports medicine, year 1 and you enjoy it, take the second year of sports medicine next year, and you will have more work-ready skills, more talents, and it could lead to employment, and also articulating that coursework to a college locally that has a sports medicine program to continue on in your learning. We offer mental and behavioral health year 1 and 2, audio production year 1 and 2, and stage technology courses here at the high school. Outside of our local area, there are welding classes, emergency medical response, and other courses, including cosmetology in within about a 12-15 mile radius. If you want some outside ROP courses, please see Ms. Miller in the Career Center, and she can assist you with that registration. We want to give a reminder that your grades matter, and your junior year grades are the last set of grades that colleges will see when you begin applying to colleges in the fall. Having a strong academic performance is always to your advantage, and that way you avoid having to take remedial classes at any point if your grades were to slump. So when we went in classes today, we explained and showed students how to access the electronic course request form. It is a Google form, and it's accessed from the CHS website. Go to the counseling tab and then course selection for 2023-2024. This form is editable, so you can submit your request as we ask students to do today. And then we showed them how they can resubmit requests after they talk with their parents, after they talk with teachers, or after they reconsider their plans and course plans for next year. The form will close on February 17th. And after February 17th, that form responses will be shown on a piece of paper that we will share with your students when we meet with each junior starting February 28th through their social science class. We will meet with students, review their course requests. We will review their credits. We will discuss their future plans and make sure that their course requests are aligned with their future goals, as well as their senior year goals. We can also make adjustments to requests depending on circumstances. We can also move forward with summer school discussions with your students. Here is just a quick example of the counseling resources that we have here on our website. This is the home page. You would click the counseling tab, click the counseling department, and you would see some of the links that we shared today with students regarding course selection, school links, and the Career Center. This is the course selection links that we also showed your students today. On the right side of the page, you see graduation and college admission requirements. That is a separate document, very useful for students to kind of know the scope of what the differences are between diploma, college, admission requirements, NC2A. The course description book is also linked here, showing all the courses that we've offered at Claremont High School for the last 10 years, a brief description about the courses. The third box, labeled 3, the CHS elective options, is very comprehensive and very current of our current electives at CHS for next year, including a description of the course and just a brief overview of what students would do in that class. Some of our classes do have auditions and interviews, so the box number 4 indicates contact people for classes that have an interview or an audition as part of a prerequisite. And then lastly, box number 5 shows the Rising Senior Course Selection Form, and that is the form your students can access starting today and revisit as many times as they want up until February 17th when the form closes. And then once you submit your course requests, you will receive this notification that your response has been recorded, but it is editable. And just as it shows on the circle, edit your response, you can go back and edit your course requests again through midnight, February 17th. And then this last screen here shows the courses. It shows the cycle for seeing your juniors through their U.S. history classes starting February 28th. So as you can see here, we will see Dr. Arbaleda's classes on the 28th of February, followed by Mr. Barcelona on March 3rd, and Mr. Easton on March 2nd, and so on. And this will be the way that we see students to confirm requests. So we thank you so much for listening tonight to this information. We hope it was helpful, and we can do any other questions, I believe, live at this time.
One question that came through in the chat was students who don't have a government or who don't have a U.S. history or social science class currently, how will they see their counselor? You could still kind of use that same time frame and know that somewhere in that block between February 28th and March 3rd, or maybe right around that same time period, we will send for those students. Keep in mind, students, that when we are meeting with you for your credit check and to talk about classes for next year, we're not placing you in those classes. Classes really don't get solidified until the summer. So there's no urgency of for the students who meet with their counselor on the 28th over the 1st, or after the 1st of March. So we will make sure that we call in students who do not have a scheduled U.S. history class at this time. A question came in about finding the Rising Senior important dates. I'm so glad that somebody wants to see that because that is very helpful. That is on the counseling website. So if you go to the CHS website under the counseling department, I believe under the junior information night video, there are some links, and you should see it noted there. There's a link that you can click on as a PDF. And so as we told students in class, it would be great if you could just download that and use it as a checklist. You may want to print it out, put it up on the refrigerator, just so it's a way for students and the whole family to kind of see what they should be working on and when.
Mrs. Mitchell also add, so when you go to the Claremont High School website, go under the counseling tab, course selection for 23-24, and it'll be on your left-hand side. There'll be the dates for every grade level, which gives the dates of the classroom presentations, the evening presentations, as well as when the course request form is due. And then lastly, that window that we will be meeting with the students individually. Okay, I'm just going to jump in here. We do have a number of questions. If I'll just go ahead and read them if anybody wants to answer them. Is there a limit to how many AP classes a student can take?
There's not a limit per se. We don't cap it, but please do think about the balance of your entire life when selecting multiple AP or IB classes. We do not cap it, but please do what's healthy and of interest, and can be manageable too. Some of our students also are balancing not only a job, but athletics or theater, and they have a lot of commitments. So please choose wisely. But if you are full IB diploma, the IB diploma does require that you take IB classes junior year and senior year for that diploma.
Is government economics classes in the summer offered online or face-to-face?
Government and econ are offered in summer school, and the latest I saw was that they are online this summer.
Yep, so far that's the information received. Those two classes will be online. English 101 will also be online.
We talked a lot about English 101 in classes today with juniors, and that is a dual enrollment course. Dual enrollment courses are courses offered by Citrus College. They're on their college catalog, but they're taught at our campus by our teachers at Claremont High School. English 101 is dual enrollment. Dual enrollment courses earn 10 high school credits in one high school semester. We weight the GPA, it's a weighted class, meaning that grades of C or better in a dual enrollment course get that extra GPA point added. And the students in dual enrollment courses also earn college credit, 3 units of college credit. The dual enrollment courses we offer at Claremont High School also are transferable to UC and CSU.
We also have another summer school question. It said that I see that the economics is only being offered first session in summer school. They're not able to do that. Is there a possibility of doing it during the second session? As of right now, it's only going to be offered this session as indicated. That could change. I'd keep an eye on things, but as of right now, that's the latest information. It's only going to be offered that first session. Okay, we have another one. Can you explain the math in English classes that were created by the Cal State University system? So referring to ERWC and MRWC.
So the CSU system developed curriculum for math and English several years ago, and our teachers have been trained and have adopted the curriculum at Claremont High School. The ERWC class is college preparatory English. It's the equivalent in terms of college preparedness as senior English, and it fulfills the graduation requirements and college admission requirements. The CSU MRWC is a math class, again, created by CSU, adopted by our district and our teachers. And MRWC could be an option for students who are finishing Integrated Math 3 this year, who really don't want a super aggressive math class, more like they don't want a pre-calculus class. MRWC is less fast-moving math and will not have some of the derivatives and other concepts that pre-calculus has.
Okay, if a course is taken through a third-party agency during the summer, would you show who would you show the credits to, and when would you show them?
Anybody contemplating an off-campus class this summer really needs to talk to their counselor. We offer so many classes. If you've looked at the course request form for next year, it's staggering how many choices we have, both in every core subject areas and certainly our electives. Again, there are some hazards with off-campus classes. Talk it over with your counselor, and we'll have to see about approving it. But it can be dicey for those of you who had some experience about it. It doesn't always align well to the classes here at the high school.
And I'll just add, I think we've all had students who did not talk to their counselor, took a course and ended up not to be UC approved or WASC accredited. which is a waste of your time. And so you really want to make sure you talk to your counselor and you're taking the course that does meet those requirements, and really to talk about what's the plan. Ultimately, why do you want to take that course? What is your future plan? And is it wise to go ahead and do that? Okay. Okay, does CHS offer SAT support, tutoring, etc. besides Khan Academy?
We don't have a standalone SAT prep class, but Khan Academy has partnered with College Board, the company that provides the SAT, and Khan Academy has linked in with College Board to provide top of the line SAT prep. I have older students who had SAT prep 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and Khan Academy exceeds what I paid money for my daughters to have for SAT prep. So I really can't encourage enough the value of Khan Academy. But we are in a new climate of admissions. So many, just 5 years ago, colleges like UC, Cal State, they all required admission testing. They had subject tests as a separate requirement. All of those things have really changed dramatically in the last 5 years. So many schools are test optional. We want you to know that there are some schools that still require tests, but they're dwindling. Right now, you can count them on two hands, the colleges that require SAT and ACT, places like Georgetown, places like MIT. They have gone back to, they do want admission test scores. There are some colleges in the South, Georgia and Florida, who require SAT for part of their scholarship determination. It's not for admissions, but it's to access scholarships. So if those kinds of schools are on your possibility, then you definitely need to take the SAT or ACT. But if it's not, think about the test optional and some of the advice we've shared.
Sorry, I was on mute. If you take English 101 during the summer and decide to take AP Lit, what happens to the literature credits?
The credits are your credits. You've earned the credits from English 101 and you've earned your credits from AP Lit. If you're talking about the advanced placement standing, that would depend on if you take the AP Lit exam, and then the college decides how many advanced placement credits they will accept for when you transfer or matriculate to their campus.
Okay, along that same question, along the same lines, does AP English take the place of English 101 in college?
It doesn't take the place in terms of the graduation requirement and college admission requirements. They're equivalent in the sense that they are a year of English. But in terms of how four-year colleges will view English 101, it will vary. English 101 is transferable to UC and Cal State. How a private school may view English 101 may differ than how they might view AP Lit. That is the institution's decision.
Okay, lots of English 101 questions. When will juniors be able to complete the paperwork required for English 101? I can answer that too. You know what, not right now. We want students to select a course, but right now we're still finalizing some of the students who are in current courses as we move forward. I know last year we had our citrus reps come on our campus towards the end of the school year. We started calling students in and assisting them in completing that paperwork. So that's a great question, because a lot of students, they sign up and then they just don't do the citrus part of it. It's extremely important that you do that. Just know we will provide additional assistance for that, but that won't happen. Probably my guess, I think we did that mostly in May. We really started to work on that May and June to help students complete that paperwork. So right now you're just going to select it, but then you'll do the citrus paperwork later on.
And if students get call slips to see somebody, a representative, please follow through on that summons, because it's those citrus contacts that you're getting summons for to help with your citrus application.
I'm going to jump in only because I intended to answer this question, to type the answer, and I clicked something. So now it says I want to answer it live. But the question is about physics, and is physics considered a must-have course, or is APES or AP environmental science a satisfactory complement to bio and chem? So I'll invite my colleagues to jump in if they have any other insight about this. A lot of it really, I think, depends on what the student's intention is. If they're majoring in something that's science-based, if they're majoring in something that's a physical science, I think it could be very advantageous for them to get that exposure to physics. But as far as what the college is looking for, so much of it really just depends on the school. It depends on the student's intended major. Again, AP Environmental Science is a really popular class. A lot of our students have a genuine interest in that, and it's certainly a course that's acknowledged by colleges. And so a lot of it comes back to what the student's intention is. Are they going into a heavy science field? I would encourage a student who's thinking about going into a physical science type of a major to get some exposure in physics or AP physics. But again, I think that kind of becomes a personal decision. APES is certainly a quality class, and a lot of our students are wanting to go more into an environmental science type of a major, might appreciate a class like APES.
I will also add on that if you are an engineering major, prospective engineering major, I would definitely recommend, we would all recommend physics. We offer college prep physics, AP physics, IB physics. I think that would be a huge enhancement for students who are engineering bound. Similarly, if you're thinking architecture, even though architects have a different task than engineers, I think a physics class could be very, very helpful to students interested in that. But if you're thinking pre-med, then definitely AP Bio, AP Chem would be huge advantages as well. For many years, colleges like HMC, Harvey Med College down the street, they have wanted to see all three sciences in high school transcripts: the bio, the chemistry, and physics.
Along the same lines, we have a question: is AP Physics C a second year course, or can you enroll in it without prior physics classes?
You can enroll in AP Physics C without prior physics. It is a very challenging course, but you must have the math background to be eligible for AP Physics C, completion of pre-calculus.
There's a question: will computer tech ed be a graduation requirement this year? I'll go ahead and take that. I'm actually on the committee looking at our graduation requirements. That is one of the areas that we're looking at, tech ed. We do not know. Right now it's under discussion. The board will make that decision come April. There is some discussion as far as to get rid of the course, continue to offer some tech ed classes, but not in its current format and not as a graduation requirement. So for now, for the class of 2024, I would stay tuned. We should have that answer come April at the board meeting. For some of you, maybe you attended, we did have a community forum where we talked about that and the different options that we're looking at. So just know right now it's still a requirement. It could change come April. We'll know more at that time. Let's see. It says, if students are taking A-grade Math 3 now, what is the next math class they can take? Pre-calculus, AP Calc, AP Stats. Well, you have a lot of different choices. What we told the students today, no one knows your math skills better than your current math teacher. If you're currently in A-grade Math 3, you have a number of options. You could take pre-calc, you could take AP Stats, you could take an IB math class. So I strongly encourage you to talk to your current math teacher and see what they would recommend for you, because you do have a number of choices. Also, utilize our course description book that we showed you how to access today, and that will cover all the classes and what those classes entail. Okay, I think that's all of them. Any other questions? If you're a rising sophomore and need a second year science course, can you take AP Physics or AP Chem for those credits?
You can select 2 science courses for the same school year. but we cannot promise that students will get to science courses. We are required to make sure that every student has a math, science, English course that they want and have requested. We can only provide doubles on a space available basis. So when you meet with your counselor, you can address that request, but we can't promise doubles, certainly not doubles in science.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about our rising sophomore presentation too, about options for summer school and courses and things like that. Okay, it does say, are you offering a finance class? Although I think someone just answered that. Yes, we do offer a class called Math for Personal Finance. Please know that is not considered a higher level math class. If you are planning on going to a four-year college, I wish all students could take it. I think it's a great course, but colleges want to see 4 years, including higher level math. So up through integrated math 3, including some sort of math in that senior year. But Math for Personal Finance is not considered a higher level math, but we do offer it and it's a great course. What is the maximum amount of courses you can take over the summer?
Claremont High School will have summer school session 1, which is 3 weeks long, and then session 2, another 3 weeks long. So if you are taking government and econ, that will be 6 weeks of summer school. If you are wishing to take pre-calculus, a year of pre-calculus this summer, our only accelerated math class in the summer at CHS, that is 6 weeks long.
Okay, when do summer sessions begin and end? You know, I did quick look at the website. I'm not sure if they put the schedule up there yet. I believe they sent it out to parents, a tentative schedule. Does anyone else have a better answer than that? I'm not sure.
I think it's June 24th is the first day of summer school.
Summer school start times, end time, start dates, end dates, and then times are all in the actual course request form. They do vary by the subject. And so some of them are only 2 weeks long, some are 3 weeks long. So we'd encourage you to go to the form itself, and you can actually see the start dates, end dates for every class.
You know what, actually, that's a good point that you brought up. When we did our presentations today, we showed the students, and Mr. Troche is correct, in there is a pre-registration summer school form. However, we told the students, we don't want you to sign up yet. And this is why. Often students will say, oh, I want an easier senior year. I'm going to take Gov and Econ in the summer. Well, then if they do that, once they get to their senior year, they realize they still have to take 5 classes. So then they end up taking a lot of electives. And so we'd rather you wait to talk to your counselor, map out your plan on what you want to do. Does it make sense to take summer school? Do you need to take summer school? Do you need to remediate a course? So I would encourage you to wait on that till you meet with your counselor, but just know that is part of the course request form, and it will show the dates and also the classes on that pre-registration form.
One thing I want to add, since we're talking about summer school, keep in mind that I don't think we touched on this, but I think it's really valuable for families to remember that there are so many ways to be enriched and so many things that add to who you are outside of summer school classes. So we've known of students who have done certain summer camps. They've worked, they've actually, garnered some work experience. They have given themselves an opportunity to advance themselves in other ways that are character building ways as well, especially students who have responsibilities and they develop those skills, whether it's paid or unpaid types of work or volunteer opportunities. So students who aren't taking summer school, realize that you may still be doing something in the summer that's going to add a lot to what you're going to say in your college essays or in those personal insight questions when it asks about how you've advanced yourself. That doesn't always mean through extra courses, but it could be opportunities or experiences. So just keep that in mind, that there are multiple ways for you to kind of grow yourself during the summer.
One question says, I see that we have to start filling out the form to get the information. Actually, my hope is, I would think, that your student has already filled out the course request form, because we had all of them fill it out and submit today. Keep in mind, they have till February 17th to make any changes. And we also showed them how to go back and edit. So you don't necessarily have to fill out the form, but one of the very first links is to that summer school. So if you're talking about the summer school information that you're trying to get that, you just have to edit the form and you'll be able to see that information and the classes and the dates and all that. How many days of summer school are you able to miss until they won't let you take the class? Typically, it's just one. You have to remember summer school is very, very short and it's all about seat time. So if you're going to be missing more than one day, you won't be able to take the course then, because you have to be there the majority of the time. I think it's one day that you can miss, but that's it. Okay, it says, how many years of language are required? Anyone?
So the graduation requirement is either 1 year of a world language or a year of visual performing music art or a year of career technical education, like an ROP class that we talked about earlier tonight. So that's the grad requirement, 1 year or. For colleges, the minimum is 2 years of the same world language, but we often recommend that students go beyond the minimum to increase their chances and their options later on.
Okay, we have the last couple of questions, but looks like counselors are typing those. And this is just more of a general question then. Is AP Government, if it's one semester, which semester should I take it? Well, that's actually not up to you. What we do is when you end up picking a semester course, it's the computer will automatically schedule you because it has to put half the students the first semester, half the students the second. So you should just sign up for the courses and just know that it will be placed in your schedule, but not necessarily the semester that you would prefer. It's based on equaling those semesters out, okay? So just make sure you sign up for it and the rest we'll take care of when it comes to scheduling. Okay,
As we get ready to
any other questions?
As we get ready to conclude, I wanted to remind students, as we said in our classes today, that the important dates is on the listed on the website. But also students in the spring, generally, I think we usually do it like right around the time after AP exams end. We have a week where we offer like a counselor series for juniors, just for juniors, where we will do one day at lunchtime that's about letters of recommendation or narrowing your college search or personal insight questions. So we will oftentimes give you information, just again, in those little buckets that are more easily digestible. If you get the reminds, you will know when those are happening. So we put as many dates on the calendar as we could secure, but just know that there are potentially other things that will come up that will say, hey, we want to make sure that our juniors know about this, or there's something new that we've discovered as far as a summer course opportunity. So always check those reminds, always make sure you're checking your Canvas so that we can give you any updates. As long as you take advantage of those opportunities, we'll keep you up to date with what we think you need to know to help you make your decisions and be more organized and successful as you move toward your senior year. I'm going to reiterate, please, if you did not get a chance to see the junior information night presentation, I cannot tell you how much information was included in that. We had a panel of speakers who really delved more into the UCs, the Cal States, community college. But I think perhaps maybe one of the key, most important speakers that night was our senior presenter. We have an actual CHS current senior who gave an outstanding delivery, a presentation of her experience, how she chose her classes, how she selected her colleges, things that she would do differently. So if you haven't had a chance to view that yet, please take the time to look at that, look at it as a family, and get some insight just from all the presenters, but especially that senior presentation, which can help you just kind of get your footing as you're making some choices moving forward.
One more question. Is there an AP computer science class?
No, we do not offer AP computer science. We do have IB computer science, SL, and for second year computer science, HL.
Okay. And someone asked the question, I think Mrs. Mitchell, you typed an answer, but I do want to share this with the rest of our attendees. Someone asked if I can't get a hold of my child's counselor, can I reach out to somebody else? And I just want to say, I know right now is a really busy time, so it may take us a little bit longer. You have to keep in mind there's 7 counselors and we're trying to register 2,400 kids and we try to meet with all of them individually. And so it may take a little bit longer for us to get back to you, but it's okay. If you don't get a response in a day or two, just know that we will get back to you, and it's not going to change course requests for next year. We can always make changes for later. But we ask for your patience during this time because it's matter of fact, this whole week we're in classrooms presenting every single period, every single day. And so it's just a lot, but we welcome your questions. Just know it might take us a little bit longer. So we thank you for your patience and your understanding during this busy time. And with that, I think we're done with questions. Anyone else? Okay, well, we just want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we hope you have a great